Hey guys, what's up? And today I'm going to talk about the books that changed my life. So you may be wondering why I'm still on the floor, why I'm wearing the same shirt. It's fine. I'm just pre-recording all of these. So today I am going to talk about the books that have changed my life. Just want to share with you guys why these books changed my life and try to see if you want to read them, if you're interested in them. Some of them you need to read, but yeah. So these are the books. The first book I'm going to talk about is The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. This is a book that I read in 6th grade, I believe. For my English class in 6th grade, we read The Westing Game, and it was so fun. My teacher made life so much fun for this book, and I think that's really what made me fall in love with this book, is how he taught it and how we would slowly try and figure out the clues to see if we could figure it out before the book told us. And the characters in this are wild. They're a mess. They are just a mess, and you can't help but love it. You really can't. My teacher that year, he was just so amazing, and I don't think he was such a great English teacher, and he really made me fall in love with reading again, because I think at that time I was kind of swaying away from it, but then we read this book and I said, we're back in business, because this book is amazing. It's a very short read and you just fly through it because it's just a silly read. Not necessarily silly, but there are just silly moments and the characters are very wild, as I said. So yeah, I think this is more of like, I love 6th grade English. I think that's more of what this is. But it's still a great read. But that's pretty much why it changed my life, because it got me really back into reading. The next book I actually don't have. I thought I had all these books. But I recently got rid of this book. Because listen, I reread it and she did not age well. And I feel terrible, but also like I'm not going to read it again, and I didn't enjoy it. It kind of ruined it for me. But at the time, it was everything to me. It was Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Don't we all know that this book changed all of our lives? It's not good, but it's also like a pivotal moment in almost every reader's life. Everyone read this book and fell in love with it. Even if it's not good anymore, it was amazing when we were in, like, I think maybe, I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was in 8th grade? I'm not sure. But it was so big and so amazing. I think I read Allegiant and then Fault in Our Stars, or I read them within the same day. And when I tell you I was a wreck, I was a wreck. So I don't know. It just sticks with me. My friends during that time, the events that we did, it was just so much fun. I enjoyed it so much. And I mean, if you don't know what The Fault in Our Stars is, I'm sorry. The fad is over. The book is gone from my bookshelf, so the fad is really over. But it was a great time while it lasted, I'm not gonna lie. The next book that changed my life was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This book entered me into a whole new world. I think this was the first real thriller I read. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the first real thriller I read, and the first really graphic book. Gillian Flynn does not hold back. I've tried to read her other books, but I don't enjoy them. This is the only one that I literally fell in love with and never stopped talking about. The movie adaptation for this, perfection. But I highly advise the book. If you don't want to read the book, watch the movie. It's a pretty damn good adaptation. This book was the first book that really made me think and like try and figure out what the hell was going on. And I don't know. I think this brought me to my love of thrillers. Have I ever found a thriller that is as good as this one? Into the Water is pretty close, but I think I still love this one. The characters are crazy, but also like lovable in a way, just because of how psycho they are and how they're just like, this is gonna sound weird, but they're just naughty characters and you can't help but not love them. The next book or series will not come as a surprise. I talk about it more than I should, probably because a lot of people hate this series, but I just love it too much. So, and it was really like an era of my life. After I read Allegiant, I was very, very upset because I followed the series. I read it whenever only the first book was out. I remember going to the store and buying Insurgent and then like dressing up as Dauntless because I'm extra to get Allegiant and then literally reading it that night. It was a journey. Obviously, it's a Divergent series. This series was a journey. Listen, I fell in love with all of these characters for the most part, even Peter. I just feel like this series aged very well because I'm currently in a reread of it, as you guys probably know. I think these books came into my life at a very pivotal moment. The next book is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. This also entered into my life at a very pivotal moment. I remember everyone talking about it, literally everyone. They were like, oh, you need to read The Book Thief, oh, you need to read The Book Thief. And I read it, and my heart hurt. I think I read it in like a day or two, and it's just a powerful book. And this book also brought me into my love for World War II historical fiction books. I don't know. It also brought me just in general into the world of historical fiction. I think this was my first historical fiction book. And now I just want to read, or after this, I just wanted to read all of them because they're just so interesting. None of them have lived up to Marcus Zusak's The Book Thief. But you know, they're not going to. Because when I read this was the start of everything. So this is what I challenge every book to be like, but it's not going to be. So this was just a book that brought me so much happiness, and it's very, very rare that a book that is super hyped at the time that I pick it up, like Divergent, Gone Girl, they weren't hyped whenever I picked them up, but Fault in Our Stars was, but it's fine. It was good at the time. But it's very, very rare that I love a book that is so hyped, and people still hype about it, I hype about it, and there's still so many people out there that haven't read it, and it's so sad. If you haven't read this book, you need to read it. It is about World War II, Lisa Mieminger, she's the book thief, and like, don't watch the movie, it's terrible, but the book is fantastic. I want to read this book very soon, so I hope that I get the chance to do that. The next book. This one is a very timely read. I read this my freshman year of college, which was like 3 years ago, I think. Yeah, I think it's like 3 years ago. And this was a book that my university required us to read. Most people didn't read it, but they need to read it because it's a memoir, and it is everything. It is Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. I have an obsession with Bryan Stevenson, so you can't talk bad about him at all. He is such an incredible man. This is about the mass incarceration of black men and women and how they are wrongly accused and convicted, and put on death row a lot of the times. So Bryan Stevenson is a lawyer for these wrongly convicted black men, black women, and I think this is just a powerful read. I usually listen to nonfiction with audiobooks, but this is a book that I feel like you have to read because it's beautifully written. It really tells you, like, hey, these are the facts. Listen. We don't care what you think, but this is the truth. And I really enjoy how matter of fact it is and how he just says it because, listen, that's what we need. If this doesn't tell you how much I love this book, I literally have so many quotes and paragraphs that were wonderful. I really want to reread this soon. I don't know if I want to listen to an audiobook because I think Bryan Stevenson does the audiobook. I just feel like this is a very important read, not only for white people to understand the amount of pain and hardship and injustices that black people have to go through, but also just anyone to read it to understand the system and how it works against African Americans. It's I just think it's so powerful, and this is why it changed my life. I think this book just advanced my thoughts on how injustices toward black communities, black people, it's just so frustrating, and I think this book really just helped me understand how frustrating it is and like how I can become an ally, and especially during this time where officers are just like, hey, let me kill you because you're black. I think this is a book that will help us understand the justice system and how it truly works against black people. Will tear up or cry. I did both, and there's just moments in here that are so powerful. The movie really doesn't take those moments to encapsulate what the book does, and I was really sad to see that, but the book is everything. It's I don't know what else to say about it because you just have to read it. You have to get into the mind of Bryan Stevenson and his trials and tribulations to get where he is, because he is a black man as well, and he had some troubles being a lawyer, or he's still a lawyer, but like being a lawyer during, I believe this is the 80s. The next book that changed my life, this was a surprise for me, and it is First by Lori Elizabeth Flynn. This is a book about a girl who she sleeps with these girls' boyfriends so that the girls can have a good first time. And it sounds weird, but I've never done what she does in the book, but I connected with her on a whole nother level. It talks about sex, sexuality, the idea of being a girl and girlhood, and society's feelings toward girls, sex. This is basically a sex ed book, which not in like, oh, this is like what you're supposed to do, like you need to be careful and stuff. No, it's like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like, if everyone just read this book, they would be able to understand the feelings of girls and guys during sex. It really encompasses the different feelings of sex with different people. Like, not all guys are like, yeah, sex, I've had it like 7,000 times. And not all girls are like, oh, I don't know about sex, I think I want to save myself. Like, it's the different feelings of girls and guys towards sex. And it's, like, listen, the main character, I don't know how to explain it because it's just going to sound really weird, but I connected with her on so many levels. She's in high school, she's doing this, obviously things go bad, but like just her thoughts, because you get into her thoughts and her feelings And it is just a book that is, I don't know, it blew my mind because I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. For me, the reason it changed my life is because I connected with the main character so much. Her thoughts towards sex, what she was doing, how she was expressing her body. It's just a fantastic read, and I don't think anyone has heard of it, which is so sad. I just can't express how much this changed my actual life. Like, to know that my thoughts, like, that's why we read. To know that your thoughts and feelings are not alone. And I just felt so connected with everything in this book. And her fears. This book really changed my life. And the final book that changed my life is Winter Girls by Laurie Halse Anderson. This is not a surprise because I think I've talked about it several times. I need to also reread this book. I'm hesitant because I'm afraid I'm not going to love it as much as I did when I first read it. This is a book about two girls, they're friends, and they both have anorexia. One of them dies. The other girl has to decide if she wants to continue down the road of being anorexic and potentially be like her friend, or, I don't know, choose a different path. And I think this is a great book. When I read it, I was having issues with some of my friends, deciding whether I want to continue to be friends with them or not. And I think this was a great book for that, just because it allowed me to understand that I don't have to follow my friend's path. I can do as I please. This is a much bigger topic of following in the path of anorexia, and it's very sad, but it's also very beautifully written on how they don't romanticize the anorexia. Laurie Halse Anderson clearly states several times that this is not the way to go, just because it's really, really messed up. And she also wrote Speak, which I think was like one of the first books talking about rape. And I wasn't a huge fan of Speak, but I understand how important it was whenever it came out. I did enjoy Shout, but I think this is the book that really empowered me to be my own person, but also understand the different dilemmas. Obviously, this is mostly on the extreme scale of following the anorexic journey, but I don't know. I think it has underlying things, but I really, really enjoyed this book as well, and the themes it had within it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.